Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I wanted to do a little something different. As you all know, if you've been listening to my channel, I was in a relationship with a narcissist for 2 years. And of course, like all narcissists, he treated me like crap, and he cheated, and he lied pathologically. And when the relationship ended, he immediately got with a new supply. Literally within like 2 days, he had a new girlfriend. And I remember feeling like so heartbroken. Even though I ended the relationship and I knew the kind of person he really was, it still hurt that he moved on so fast. And I literally was heartbroken. I couldn't get out of bed. I fell into a depression. I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. And I literally felt like I was going to die. And I remember thinking, like, maybe it's better to be like the narcissist because he wasn't heartbroken. He was able to just go on with his life like nothing happened. He didn't have to be heartbroken. He didn't have to miss me. Narcissists don't love anyone. They don't love people. They don't feel happiness. They don't feel joy. But I thought, maybe it was better to be him in that moment because if I was like him, I wouldn't be sitting here with a broken heart. I wouldn't be crying all the time. I wouldn't be depressed. I wouldn't be sitting there not even able to eat food. But then I started thinking about it and I thought being a narcissist would literally be pure hell. So that's kind of what this video is about. I wanted to have a video where we sort of go into the mind of a narcissist, what the daily life would be like. And imagine being the narcissist. Imagine that you wake up in the morning and from the second you open your eyes, you're literally miserable. You feel totally empty because you don't have any supply yet. So when you open your eyes, no one's there to fill up your tank. So you need fuel immediately, like how we need oxygen. So you get out of bed and start hunting for fuel right away. Maybe you send a text to the person that you're dating, or maybe you live with the person that you're dating. And so you do something to try to elicit fuel from them. Maybe you tell them you love them, or you give them a kiss, or whatever it is that you have to do. And so you get that fuel. But it's not enough. You need more and more and more to last the whole entire day. So where are you going to get it? You literally hate yourself. You're just full of self-loathing and shame, misery, pain, but only pain for yourself. As you know, narcissists don't feel pain for others because they lack empathy, but they can feel it for themselves. So they literally are in pain every single second. They see themselves as the victim in every situation. They're not able to actually look at their own actions and see the things that they've done to others to warrant any sort of repercussions. So they constantly think that they're this poor, poor victim and that somehow the world hates them and the world's against them. And they've just gone through all of this hell and people are just out to get them. So they always feel like they're the constant victim. They're so empty, but they also completely hate themselves at the same time. Imagine how bad that would feel. So then they go on about their day and they have to wear a mask. They know that they can't be their true self because who would even speak to them? Who would date them? Who would employ them? Who would be their friend? If they knew who the narcissist really was, no one would talk to them. So they literally have to wear a mask. They don't even know who they really are deep down. They have no actual sense of self because when they were injured as a child and they never developed empathy, they hid their true self. So over the years, they don't even know who their true self is because they've never been their true self. They've always worn a mask. So now it's like they don't even know who they are. All they know is the different masks that they wear. So you have to wear a mask. And you have to pretend to be like other people. You have to pretend to have compassion and like normal human emotions. But imagine if you didn't have the capacity to feel those things yourself, and so you only had to fake and pretend that you felt them. Imagine how weird that would feel. So you know you don't actually care about others and feel genuine compassion, but you have to pretend that you do. So you know that you're different. You know that all these other people are feeling things and they can really feel them. They're not just pretending to feel them. But you know that you don't. So you feel like you never fit in. You don't really belong anywhere. And your whole entire life is one big lie. You have to go around wearing masks, pretending to be a good person just to get fuel from people. I couldn't imagine. So they're wearing whatever mask, and maybe they have a job, and they go to work. And all day they have to keep the mask on. And they have to sit there and have these conversations with their coworkers and pretend to be normal, pretend to have compassion and sympathy for people, pretend to actually have interest in real friendships. They don't care about friendships or relationships. Narcissists only want fuel, but they're not just going to get fuel if they don't pretend to care. So they have to do all of these things and fake all of these emotions to get the fuel that they need to survive. That's why narcissists are completely miserable. Their life revolves around how am I going to get more fuel? How am I going to get more? I need more. And it's never enough. I mean, think about it. When you were with the narcissist, didn't you do everything for them? Weren't you good to them? Weren't you faithful? Didn't you love them? You probably waited on them hand and foot and did everything. But yet, it still wasn't enough to satisfy the narcissist. They tore you down. They had affairs. Maybe they left you. It's never enough for them. Imagine that kind of life. They never experience any true happiness. Even if they're sitting there getting all the supply in the world, they're still thinking on how they're going to get more. They can't ever be satisfied. Imagine being the narcissist. So you have to sit there and have these fake friendships and fake relationships and pretend to be this person that you know you're not just so you could get fuel to survive. And the whole time, the only feelings and emotions that you're capable of feeling are hatred, jealousy, shame, self-loathing. You don't feel anything good. You have to fake all of the good emotions, fake happiness and fake love. But the things that you can feel are awful feelings that no one would want to feel. And they feel them on a daily basis, all the time. And that's where we come in. The fuel that we supply gives them a temporary moment where they get somewhat of a break from all of that shame and self-loathing. But it's only for a second. They never experience true love. Do you know how awful that would be? Narcissists are totally empty. I think back about my ex, and he was always so depressed and miserable. It's like, no matter how much fun we were having or what I was doing to make him happy, It was never enough. He never seemed like he had any actual genuine happiness. It's like his mind was always elsewhere. And I think that's because it was. He was thinking, how am I going to get more fuel? How am I going to get more? I need more. It's never enough. And no matter how much they're getting, it still doesn't kill that emptiness that they feel inside. That never goes away. It's always there with them. So all day when they're at work and they're having these fake conversations and they're pretending to be normal just so they could get fuel, they're still miserable. And then work is over and they go home and they're still miserable. They've been miserable since the second they opened their eyes this morning. So they come home from work and maybe they hang out with their boyfriend or girlfriend and they try to get more supply. But nothing eases that self-hatred. It's still there. So the day is over and now it's nighttime and it's time to go to sleep. And they're laying in bed, and of course they're not getting any fuel because they're probably alone in bed and no one's there to fill up their tank. And they're just laying there thinking about how awful their life is, how miserable it is, how painful. And they're dreading the next day because they know that it's going to be the same thing tomorrow. The second you open your eyes, you are going to hate yourself. And you need other people to have some sort of temporary relief, even for a second, from that feeling. And that's all supply is. But they never stop hating themselves. My ex had a horrible time trying to sleep at night. And clearly it wasn't from a guilty conscience. He was so narcissistic that he would have nightmares about losing supply. And he couldn't even sleep at night. He was afraid to go to sleep. He would sit there for hours playing games on his phone, trying to fall asleep. And he would tell me about his nightmares. And they always revolved around something happening to me because I was his main source of supply. I supported him. He lived in my house, and without me, he would have been screwed. And so he always had these dreams that like I was abandoning him or I would get murdered, that something would happen to me and I would just disappear. And then he wouldn't have me. And at the time, I thought, wow, he must really love me because he has nightmares that if something happened, what would he do? But looking back at it now, I realized that it was just a narcissistic fear, that he was afraid of being abandoned and losing his supply, not because he loves me, but because he loves the fuel. He needs the fuel. And without me, what would he do? So sometimes they're literally afraid to even go to sleep at night because they have nightmares about being abandoned. And that's one of the narcissist's biggest fears. So maybe the narcissist drifts off to sleep. And then maybe they have nightmares. Even in their sleep, they have dreams about their fuel and their supply. It never ends. And then they wake up in the morning, and guess what? The second they open their eyes, they're miserable all over again. And that emptiness that they felt last night is still there. It never goes away. This is something that my ex actually used to tell me. He used to tell me that he was always full of shame and self loathing. He actually admitted this. And he told me that literally the second he opened his eyes in the morning, it was like pure hell. My ex was actually suicidal, and he used to hope that he just wouldn't wake up in the morning. The thought of having to face another day sometimes was too much for him. And he actually told me that he hated himself, and he didn't know why. And he said that he had all this shame. And I was always like, well, from what? I mean, what do you mean? And he never had an answer. He said he's felt like this his whole life, and he didn't know why. He didn't know where it came from. And he talked about how he literally hated waking up in the morning because the second he opened his eyes, he was in hell. Of course, he didn't say he was a narcissist, and he didn't say that he needed to go and get fuel and supply. But he did tell me that every morning was like misery, and he hated himself every second. And he didn't understand why. And I believe that that's true. I think he knew something was wrong with him, but he just didn't know what. He knew that he wasn't like everyone else, but he didn't know how to fix it. And they can't fix it, no matter how hard they try. There is no cure for narcissistic personality disorder. So, yeah, when I was laying there with a broken heart and sometimes crying myself to sleep if I slept at all, it crossed my mind that maybe it wouldn't be so bad to be my ex because he wasn't having to sit there with a broken heart. He could just move on to the next person like I never even existed. He could just find a new supply and go on and get engaged to her and appear to be happy. And it seemed like he didn't really have to be in pain like I was. But the truth is, they're in much deeper pain. We can recover from a heartbreak, but they'll never, ever heal from their personality disorder. It'll never go away. The pain that we feel from a heartbreak and a relationship ending, multiply that by like 1,000. And that's probably what the narcissist feels every second of every day. That's why they need supply so desperately. They need us as an escape from all that pain that they feel. So if you're finding yourself thinking the narcissist got off easy because they don't have to be sitting there with a broken heart and they don't have to be crying themselves to sleep, just try actually picturing yourself in their shoes and what one day in the life of a narcissist would truly be like. How horrible that must be. And there's no escape from it. It's never ending for them, and they will feel that until the day they die. I know that when you're in the throes of heartbreak and depression and despair, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But just know that we will recover from this. We will get through this heartbreak and we will get over it and we will move on. Someday down the road, this pain isn't going to be forever, even if it seems like it right now. It will eventually go away, and there will come a day that doesn't hurt as bad as the one before it. But for the narcissist, that day never comes for them. They have to hurt forever. I hope that this video was somewhat helpful. If you were having thoughts like I was that maybe the narcissist got off easy, it's really not true when you think about it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.